It was a scorching hot afternoon, the kind where the sun beats down relentlessly and the air shimmers above the asphalt. 10-year-old Maya sat quietly on the school bus, her nose pressed against the cool glass of the window, watching the familiar landscape of her town blur by. She was a thoughtful girl, with bright, curious eyes and a backpack filled with books and crayon drawings. Her stop was usually one of the last on the route, a quiet street where her grandmother would be waiting on the porch with a glass of cold lemonade. But today, the bus ride felt different. The usual cheerful chatter of her classmates was replaced by a tense silence. The regular bus driver, Mr. Henderson, who always had a kind word and a jolly laugh, was out sick. In his place was a substitute driver, a man with a stern face and a permanent scowl. He drove with sharp, jerky movements, and his eyes, reflected in the rearview mirror, seemed to hold a cold impatience. As the bus rumbled on, it passed stop after stop. Maya noticed they were heading further and further away from her neighborhood, onto a long, unfamiliar stretch of highway that cut through the open countryside. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach. She clutched the straps of her backpack, her heart starting to beat a little faster. She was the only student left on the bus. Gathering her courage, Maya walked to the front of the bus. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice small but clear. "I think you missed my stop. I live on Elm Street." The driver glanced at her in the mirror, his expression dismissive. "Sit down," he grumbled. "I know the route." "But this isn't the right way," Maya insisted gently. "My grandmother is waiting for me." The driver's face hardened. He slammed on the brakes, causing the bus to lurch to a stop on the shoulder of the deserted highway. With a hiss of the hydraulic doors, he opened them to the blistering heat. "This is your stop," he said, his voice flat and cold. "Get off." Maya stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Outside, there was nothing but an endless ribbon of road, dusty fields, and the shimmering horizon. There were no houses, no people, not a single landmark she recognized. "But this isn't my stop," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know where I am." "I said get off the bus," he repeated, his voice rising in anger. He stood up, a towering and intimidating figure. "Now." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. Fear, cold and sharp, washed over her. She knew arguing was useless. With a sob catching in her throat, she stepped off the bus. The doors slammed shut behind her with a final, deafening clang. The bus roared back to life, pulling away in a cloud of dust and exhaust, leaving her utterly alone on the side of the highway. Maya stood frozen for a moment, watching the bus disappear into the distance. The silence that descended was absolute, broken only by the chirping of unseen crickets and the rustle of the wind through the dry grass. Panic began to set in. She was miles from home, with no idea which way to go. The sun was relentless, and she didn't have any water. Fighting back tears, Maya remembered her grandmother's words. "When you're scared, little bird, find your courage. It's always there, just waiting for you to call on it." She took a deep breath, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. She had to do something. She couldn't just stand here. She started walking, choosing the direction the bus had gone, hoping it would eventually lead back to a town. Her little legs ached, and her throat was parched. Every car that sped past felt like a roaring monster, ignoring her small, waving hand. Hope began to dwindle with each step. Just as she felt she couldn't go on, a beat-up old pickup truck slowed down and pulled over a little way ahead of her. The driver's side door opened, and a woman with kind eyes and a warm, weathered face stepped out. She was an older farmer, dressed in overalls and a wide-brimmed hat. "Goodness, child, what are you doing out here all by yourself?" the woman asked, her voice full of genuine concern. Through her tears, Maya explained what had happened. The woman, whose name was Sarah, listened with a look of growing shock and anger. "That's just terrible," Sarah said, shaking her head. "No child should be treated that way. Come on, get in. It's not safe for you out here." Maya hesitated for only a second before the woman's gentle nature put her at ease. She climbed into the truck, which smelled of fresh hay and earth. Sarah gave her a bottle of water from a cooler and a fresh apple, which Maya gratefully accepted. As they drove, Sarah used her cell phone to call the local police in the school district, her voice firm and unwavering as she reported the incident. She described the bus, the driver, and the dangerous situation he had created. She didn't just offer Maya a ride, she became her fierce advocate. When they finally pulled up to Maya's house, her grandmother was pacing on the porch, her face etched with worry. The moment she saw Maya, she ran to her, wrapping her in a hug so tight it squeezed the remaining fear right out of her. The story, however, didn't end there. Sarah's call had set a chain of events into motion. The school district immediately launched an investigation. The substitute driver was identified and fired, facing legal consequences for child endangerment. The incident brought to light a gap in the school's policy for substitute staff, leading to stricter background checks and mandatory training protocols to ensure something like this could never happen again. Maya's story, shared by Sarah with local news outlets, touched the community. People were outraged by the driver's actions, but inspired by Sarah's kindness and Maya's bravery. The incident became a powerful lesson about looking out for one another and the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it's difficult. In the end, what started as a terrifying ordeal transformed into a story of community, courage, and change. It showed how the simple act of a kind stranger stopping to help can make all the difference, turning a moment of fear and isolation into a powerful catalyst for good. It's a reminder that in a world that can sometimes seem harsh, compassion is our greatest strength. Thank you so much for watching. If you were moved by this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content that inspires and uplifts. Stay safe and always be kind to one another.